Hi, David Lee here from Human Nature at Work. I want to tell you about a brand new audio program for leaders and aspiring leaders. It's titled Storytelling for Leaders: How to Become a More Compelling Communicator Through the Use of Stories and Analogies from Everyday Life. This is actually a recording from a half-day program I gave for a leadership team in an organization which they invested several $1,000s on. Obviously, this program that you'll get is way less than that. But it focuses on storytelling skills that allow leaders and also aspiring leaders to present their ideas in more persuasive, more inspiring ways. So whether it's talking with somebody one-on-one about a new idea, or presenting your idea in a meeting, or presenting your idea at an association meeting or at a company-wide meeting, the more you know how to use stories and analogies to make your point, the more compelling, the more interesting, the more inspiring you are as a communicator. So that's what this program is all about. And when I say aspiring leaders, I mean anybody who is interested in taking a more leadership role, whether in the workplace or in some other type of organization. So let's talk about what you'll learn in this program. First, you'll learn how to shift people from disempowered, there's no way I can talk to that person, there's no way I can lead this team, there's no way I can feel comfortable presenting at association meetings, whatever the limiting belief is, how to shift people from a disempowered state to an empowered I can do this state. And this is one of the areas where storytelling really shines. This is also one of the areas where storytelling is extremely helpful in coaching and mentoring situations. You'll also learn how to create a virtual reality experience where people can practice new skills and new responses using what I call flight simulator stories. So these type of stories are really helpful when you're teaching new skills, whether it's communication skills, well, basically any type of behavioral skill. You'll also learn how to make your ideas and teaching points more understandable through the use of analogies. So if you're introducing people to new concepts or concepts from a totally different field, the more you can link your ideas to experiences and to things that they already know, the more quickly they will understand what you're trying to communicate. You'll learn how to make your ideas hit home at a more visceral level and therefore make them more memorable through the use of analogies. So maybe you remember, whether it was in the webinar or one of the postings on the storiesthatchange.com website, the analogy that I use related to understanding human nature, and or I use this same analogy when talking about the wisdom or lack thereof when people say we can't afford management development training, or that's just that warm fuzzy touchy-feely stuff. We want to learn hard skills, not these soft skills. And so the analogy that I oftentimes use to hit home the craziness and short-sightedness of that viewpoint is this scenario where imagine your head of IT goes to your CFO and says, you know, we've been using Windows 3.0 forever and we just invested in new computers. We obviously need to upgrade to a more recent version of Windows. And imagine your CFO saying, oh no, we can't afford that, that's too expensive. I mean, would you think that CFO was insane or what? That's obviously an extreme example of being penny wise and dollar foolish. And so notice how using that analogy makes the idea of scrimping and management development more obvious how ridiculous that is. So you'll be learning how to use analogies to make your points hit home. You'll also learn how to boost your analogy creating and story catching creativity, so you're always being able to notice and collect analogies and stories that you can use both in presentations and in coaching. And another way of thinking about this is you'll be learning how to activate your right brain more effectively. You'll also learn how to improve your storytelling skills, what to do and what not to do, what details to leave in, what details to keep out, and also to become more intentional with your storytelling. One of the things that I've noticed sometimes over the years is people will tell a story, but it doesn't really make the point they're trying to give, or the story's just sort of obscure, and you're like, why are they telling me that? So you don't want to do that, obviously. Also, you'll learn how to find and use "this is who we are and what we're proud of" stories. These stories are really important in employer branding and new employee orientation. And there's a certain way of doing these stories that make them really effective. And just an FYI, one of the things that I've noticed over the years related to employer branding is a lot of times employers don't use stories when they do employee testimonials, that employees just sort of say, hey, this is a great place to work, we get to do really cool work, and we work with really cool people. It's like, well, okay, anybody can say that. Any employer can make that claim. However, when you share "this is who we are, what we're proud of" stories, it really communicates memorably and powerfully who you are, what you're about, and is far more believable than just sort of generic, hey, we're awesome, or my employer's awesome. You'll learn how to make your ideas stickier through the use of illustration, explanation, and impact stories. This is really where the rubber meets the road, I think, if you're giving presentations. That if you just use abstract terms such as great teamwork, world-class customer service, managing change, open-minded manager, creating emotional safety so people are willing to share their ideas. All those terms are abstract. It's not until you use illustration, explanation, impact stories that people really get what you're talking about, and they have a very different impact on the person's brain. Number 10, find and use "this is," oh, I already said that. Find and use "this is who we are and what we're proud of" stories. Hey, there we go. You get to learn that twice. 11, how to say "you're crazy" in a nice way. And what I mean by that more specifically is how to challenge people's limiting beliefs, how to challenge people's perspectives without being confrontational. And this also is where storytelling shines, and what really got me interested years ago in the use of storytelling when I was an addictions counselor, and how direct approaches, all the direct approaches I used, all they did was trigger defensiveness and denial and resistance. And so, especially if you're dealing with people who are stuck in their ways, who get defensive easily, who are know-it-alls, these are people where using stories to communicate your message will be especially helpful. And so anybody who does coaching and mentoring, stories are worth their weight in gold with this application. And then how to use cool scientific research to add credibility and make your presentations more fascinating. And this is one of the things, just to FYI, one of the areas that oftentimes when people share with me what they like about my presentations is, well, two things. One's the stories, and the other is the scientific research. But if you've heard any of the presentations I've done using scientific research, you notice I don't just quote the takeaway message, I share the story of the research. And so the more you do that, the more you help those very left-brained, very analytical, rational type folks buy into your ideas, but also and so they add more credibility. But even for people who aren't super left-brained and rational, or rational reasoning oriented, that presenting the scientific research underlying your ideas helps them feel more confident in telling other people about why that's a good idea, whatever the idea is. And then they also just make your ideas far more memorable, i.e. more sticky. And then last but not least, you'll learn how to use my story selection system to pick the right story for your presentation or coaching session. So now you've got all these great ideas and you're catching stories, etc. It's like, okay, how do I pick the story to use? How do I use storytelling in an intentional way? So you'll learn that, or you'll take away that. So order now. But operators are not standing by. Just go to the bottom of this page to get your discount and free bonuses. And so, as you'll see, I really stacked on the bonuses to encourage you to not procrastinate and then forget about it and miss out on the really useful information. Seriously, the really useful information that you'll find in this program. So if you have any questions, you can post them at the bottom of the page, or you can email me, david@storiesthatchange.com, and hope to hear from you. And also hope to see you on the upcoming webinar series. Oh, just an FYI, for those people who purchase this program within the discount period, you'll also get a coupon, discount coupon for the webinar series. So again, any questions? Ask away. Thanks. Take care. Bye.